All right, this is our February podcast, and it is a pretty good week, wouldn't you say?
It's been a good week.
It's been a good week.
Right.
So this is...
It has been a cold week, but a good week.
Well, yeah, and if you... What I love it, or JD's missing from this, but have you seen the video of him throwing the water? He's in Wisconsin.
Yeah. That was crazy.
He should look to leave Wisconsin.
He's probably looking to leave soon, but this is Northcentral Nfused. This is for February. I am Justin Jaggers, your media specialist. I am joined by CEO and General Manager Kevin Doddridge and our Director of Marketing and Business Development, Michael Bellapani.
Thanks.
All right, so big news. If you guys have been following us on Facebook, you have no doubt seen the bill that was just signed. It's official. We're allowed
9:15 yesterday is what the governor put on the bill.
So we're within. I mean, right now it's Thursday, January 31st at 9:09 a.m. So we're not even 24 hours into this yet.
Legal.
The bill became law at 9:16.
9:16. Okay. So the Mississippi Rural Broadband Act, is that correct?
Broadband Enabling
Act. Sorry.
But the goal is rural.
Yes, Mississippi Broadband Enabling Act. This is going to allow cooperatives to look into creating affiliates and offering high-speed internet services for their members. And of course, we've seen the comments on Facebook, and I always say don't read the comments, but we do. So
yeah.
But it's people are in our areas in the Byhalia area and some areas in Olive Branch are wanting higher speed.
There's a growing demand,
yeah.
and we're starting to see that. And going into this bill, that's kind of why, I guess, the genesis of where we are is that there was a number of our membership that we heard were underserved, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
If you look at the map put out by the United States Department of Agriculture, you would be shocked at how underserved our area is. You would think in a place that's growing as rapidly as DeSoto County that you would have higher connect rates, but they're not there. A lot of DSLs out there. So, and then when you get into the more rural areas, there are some places that just are not served at all.
Mm-hmm. And in some cases, they're having to still use the old dial-up modem. With
satellite internet is big, which you know, it's just it's largely inadequate to operate the modern home.
Okay. Well, we are going to spend the majority of this podcast talking about the Broadband Act and what's going to be changing around here and what's going to be offered to people. So normally we start with Kevin, but I think we want to start with community events and talk about that and kind of.
Just real quick, month to month we try and update you on community events that are going on, and then we'll dive into the meat of this, which are the questions. But just to go through the calendar. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes breakfast is next Thursday, February 7th at 6:30 at the Landers Center. We are glad to support the FCA. It's a great organization. To buy tickets to that event, go to northcentralmsfca.org, and you'll have an opportunity to fellowship and have breakfast and hear from the new Memphis Express coach Mike Singletary, Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Has everybody forgotten, though, he was like an all-pro Hall of Famer with the Bears?
Tremendous player.
Right.
But, it's
scary guy.
He is a scary guy. But hopefully he'll be coaching this team up and a new football team for our area. On Tuesday, February 12th, in the Northcentral Auditorium, we'll be holding our winter lifeblood drive. So come on by and give the gift of life. And to pre-register for that, you can go to clublifeblood.us, or we'll accept walk-ins, and that's going to be from 11 to 3 on February 12th. And the Olive Branch Chamber's annual celebration, this is their awards celebration, will be on Fat Tuesday, March 5th at Sweet Peas. It is a Mardi Gras theme. If you want to buy tickets for that, you can contact the Chamber office at 895-2600 or olivebranchms.com.
There you go.
Another great event going on that night. The Lewisburg High School Interact Club is putting on their Empty Bowl project, where they fire up these bowls and make their own bowls, and then they bring in chefs and restaurants from all over the area bring soup in. So when you buy your ticket, you get a bowl to take home with you, and you get to sample all this soup. And the funds they raise for this go to the food pantry. So
And that's a very big thing, especially with temperatures dipping these days.
great thing the internet club's doing down there.
Yeah. So, and one more thing I want to mention, we announced this, we put out our intro video on Monday. Musicians for Le Bonheur, North Central is going to be sponsoring that. That's going to be happening. The CD is going to come out in the fall. But
and if I could eliminate any confusion, I'm not a musician.
You are involved.
I've had that question asked of me several times. So
You sing in the shower, right? I mean, not that we have like footage of that.
in the truck.
In the truck. Okay. But we the new website is musiciansforlebonheur.com. If you are a local business, if you are a local artist and you want to help out, it's info@musiciansforlebonheur.com. We'll be glad to get you all the information you need. And we've gotten several commitments, and we're starting to run out of spots now. I didn't think that we'd be having that in January, but apparently a lot of people like to help out with that. So again, musiciansforlebonheur.com. And so now we're going to talk for the rest of this podcast about broadband. So we've asked people, we've asked our members, we've asked people on Facebook to give us some questions that they might have about it, and we wanted to address that in this podcast. So we'll start it right off here. Will North Central Electric Power Association be getting into the broadband business, and if so, how?
That is a great question. If I could, I'd like to roll back about 2 weeks, and it'll involve answering that question. When we sent this bill to the Speaker of the House, we had a lofty goal of trying to get it passed in about 3 weeks, but we really thought that was probably somewhat unrealistic. But it did. It flew through the House, only 3 dissenting votes, and flew through the Senate. Now, I've got to admit the bill that we sent was rewritten. There were some things put in there, and there were some amendments that were added that, as I like to tell people, they are things that we can live with. We don't think they're going to hinder us too much in trying to establish the broadband business. But very thankful to all of the representatives and senators that are in the North Central area and those throughout the state that are friends of ours, friends of electric cooperatives, and supporting this and getting it pushed through. It went through very quickly. As I joke with our government relations team, they discovered Bigfoot. They did something that most people did not think could be done, and great effort on their part. The question is, will North Central be getting into the broadband business? How? That kind of starts with what are we doing right now? And as I've alluded to before, we're working on that 80-mile fiber figure 8, backbone of our system, connecting our substations. We've made some slight changes to the design, and the changes will be such to where it adds a couple of miles, but it gets us out on a road front, gets us to where we can maintain it a little bit better, gets us off some other assets that we may be able to sell in the long term that we may not be using. What we're doing, the next step is going to be to determine exactly what the business will look like. What will the business model be? And if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to some notes. Refer to notes, I have to use glasses. But if anybody says, well, why are you waiting till the law was passed to start working on your business model? And when I say business model, I'm talking about, will North Central have to amend our articles of incorporation? We'll have to consult with an attorney on the best type of business model, a not-for-profit, an LLC. There's going to be tax consequences. There's going to be utility consequences. If we get into a certain line of business, will the commission have certain jurisdiction over us as far as some of the telecom stuff? A lot of unanswered questions, and we're going to be working on that. Why didn't we answer these questions earlier? We could, projecting out, spend anywhere from $100,000 to $135,000 in consulting fees. It would be difficult for me to ask our board to do that unless we knew that we could get in the business. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to be prudent with that money. And in the overall scheme of things, when we're talking about a potential $75 million project, I know that may not be a lot of money, but we're gonna approach it like that, though. Everything's important. So those are questions that we're going to have to start answering. That's going to take some time. As we start to look at the business model, then we're going to have governance issues. We're going to have regulatory issues. We're working with TVA on the electric co-op's use of funds. What type of loans can we make to the affiliate? Where does the affiliate get startup money? We're going to look into applying for the USDA Reconnect grants. Whether we qualify for any of them, I do not know. $600 million was approved out of the Farm Bill. It'll be allocated in $200 million blocks nationwide. First group will be grants. The second group will be a mixture of grants and loans. The third pool is going to be loans only. We're looking at some hard deadlines to get information in where we have to show what areas are underserved, what area can we call the most rural and apply for a grant to serve it. Does it meet all the requirements? Do the people in that area want broadband service? Are there schools? Are there fire stations? Are there doctor's offices, hospitals, pharmacies in there? A lot of work to be done. If there's one thing that may come out of this government shutdown that helps us is these deadlines may be pushed back about 30 days. And I'm certain, if not myself, Michael, or people from the statewide staff will be in conversation with Senator Wicker, who now chairs Commerce, and see kind of how that's going to fall with the FCC and then the USDA. So that's really where we are right now, is getting everything going. Do we plan to get in the broadband business? We've got a study that we've just, we had I think I've alluded to it before, about a 50,000-foot study done before that told us it was feasible, made sense to look into it deeper. We're looking into it deeper. This next study, which I hope to be complete in the next 6 weeks to 2 months, should give us a lot better idea on how we deploy the fiber, how we finance the deployment, how fast we deploy it, what our anticipated take rate will be, what our anticipated delivery connect rate can be. It'll answer a lot of those questions. So we're working on things right now. We're setting up the affiliate. We'll have to name the affiliate and all the fun stuff that comes with that, governance, logos, everything. Mm-hmm. Is it a true set-aside affiliate, a subsidiary? Lot of questions there. We'll be dealing with probably 3 attorneys and a pretty sharp accountant working on a lot of that stuff. Also with a PR-type firm to work on the logo and how to promote the business. A lot of stuff's going to be taking place, I would say, between now and mid-April. And I hope by the end of April we can at least be able to say, yes, Northcentral will start an affiliate. It will be named this, and rollout dates for fiber will start to take shape. Mm.
And that's something that you've talked about before, as well as rolling this out. This isn't going to be available to everyone day one. We're going to have to build up this infrastructure, and it's going to have to reach certain stages.
Like I tell people, it took over 65 years to build out the electric system. There are some cooperatives that are incredibly aggressive in installing fiber, and they'll say that demand for the service dictates that. They've got to stay in front of the demand. Mm-hmm. I think it would make sense that if we questioned or polled our membership and even the areas outside our service areas, if they would want our product, as soon as we can define what that product's going to be, mm-hmm. It would be it would reflect poorly on us and hurt their confidence in us if we had a waiting list of literally thousands of people.
Yeah.
The concern is if you get into a situation to where you're spending $30 million on fiber a year, I think we can all say that is a lot of risk. Mm-hmm. The more aggressively you roll it out, the riskier the venture is. Northcentral's goal all along has been to not put our member, the ratepayer, at risk for this affiliate. The state statute is going to also address that. And our regulator, TVA, through the use of funds, they're going to have some eyesight on that as well. So how fast we roll it out, it's going to be like I've heard people talk about equity studies and all things. If somebody says, what are your determining factors? I'm going to say it all depends. All depends on our take rate. All depends on the flow of funds. All depends on the revenue coming in. But we all know what the goal is. And I hope that our board at some point will pass a resolution that we have the intent to try to offer a high-speed internet product to all of our membership.
All right, so the next question we have is how far along, you've kind of answered this, how far along is in the planning and execution of this process? How far along are we? Sorry.
In the planning, I would say we're probably about halfway through. And the execution, I truly believe, and after having talking to consultants, that when we get into the initial execution of the plan, we'll probably get about 90 days into it or 6 months and then adjust the plan. We'll have to, as they say, call an audible at some point. We'll have to be flexible and do that. But like I said, as far as establishing the affiliate and everything, we hope to have some hard answers early April.
Well, the fortunate thing for North Central and what's positioned us better in this process is that we're well into the fiber backbone construction and having that backbone between all of our substations. So if you think of deployment of internet services or fiber services, we basically have the interstate built. And then from that point, we would have to construct the highways and the streets to deploy that. But we're well into that process, and we'll be at a milestone point in April with that and completely finished with that in July.
Okay. That answers the next question. So
Good job.
Yeah, that was really good. I think he had a cheat
pre-answer.
sheet. Yeah, really. He had a cheat sheet. What area does North Central plan on offering these services to first?
Yes. I know that for our member, they look at roads and communities. Our decision will be based on proximity of fiber. So I think there's always an assumption that we're going to hit the more dense areas quickly. If we have fiber in front of a new development, yes, we would love to serve it right out of the gate. But we have to remember we're going to have fiber going down Wingo Road, coming down Casey Road, coming back up through Stonewall. There is no reason to believe that there's not some pretty rural areas that we'll be able to connect them pretty quick based on this interstate that Michael just alluded to.
Okay, so it's not.
And then kind of to address that is, you're not going to see a huge deployment in an urban area and then the rural area is just sitting there waiting. We'll probably do it concurrently.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean if you're in the city of city of Olive Branch that you'll be getting it first, but it's just how far away are you from the actual fiber that is in place right now? Okay.
So I envision a lot of people running out to their end of the road looking to see if they see fiber up there.
Yeah. And that map will probably be something that we'll roll out at some point to show that backbone and give folks an idea of how far they are away.
And this question actually comes from one of our members that left this on Facebook for us, Evelyn Jones. Will this include Marshall County rural areas?
Miss Jones taught me typing in high school. So you'll understand I'm very reluctant to address her as Evelyn.
Because she has dirt on you?
That goes both ways. Okay. Very good typing teacher and a great lady. And yes, the plan will be to serve Marshall County. Our service area is in Marshall County, so it would go without saying that we want to serve our service area in Marshall County. There are no restrictions, though. If this turns out to be a very successful venture, we're going to run it as a not-for-profit. If revenues come in that are a little bit more than we expected, which in a lot of areas that happens, my hope would be is that we just continue to deploy fiber. We won't be a money-making entity. The more money that comes in, the more fiber we can deploy and run it out to rural areas, and that's not going to be limited to just our service area.
Okay. What internet speeds will North Central provide? Yes.
It's really, yes. It's hard to say right now. I think by definition, you're underserved if you have a speed less than a 10 download.
10 megabits per second.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have that right now in DeSoto County. I think initially we're going to probably see the feasibility of a 25 megabits per second download, but we would like to surpass that, potentially 100. And there may be areas where we can offer even more. We realize that we can't come in with the same product. We've got to have something that's better. That's our promise to the area, is that we're going to provide them with a product that people in the urban areas already get. And I could make a good case that people in the urban areas still aren't getting the 10 megabit download.
No.
But we want to provide a great service. So our intent is not to roll something out there just for the sake of rolling it out. And unless from an operational standpoint it's just impossible, which I don't think it will be, I want someone down in Chulahoma or Mariana to have access to the same connect rate as someone on Goodman Road and Olive Branch. I want to be able to offer the same service to everyone.
Okay. If I were to, this is coming from a member, if I were to switch to North Central Internet, will you have the bandwidth to handle the entire service area and still maintain advertised service speeds?
That'll be the intent. A lot of that'll come out of studies, though.
Mm-hmm. And what some people need to realize is with all of them, you're not always reaching the advertised speeds.
Right.
And that's just, it's the supply and demand, it's proximity, there's a million factors that help or hinder your internet speeds.
We think we'll be in a better position to do it if we have fiber to the home. At least we won't be trying to work through multiple fixed wireless networks or using copper.
Okay. Do we know how much the service will be per month? Will the cost be fixed, or will customers be charged by usage?
Any model that we've looked at right now has a fixed cost. Exactly what it will be, we can't determine that right now until we know what the cost of the build-out is. And when we talk about the cost of build-out, I want everybody to realize that it's more than just what fiber costs per foot and what the labor is. They're what we call make-ready costs that we incur. From a safety and operational standpoint, there has to be enough room on that pole that we own right now to accommodate our fiber attachment. If there isn't, then we may have to change the pole out. We may discover that a pole has just deteriorated through the years that we want to attach to. So there are certain, as we call, make-ready costs that go into this as well. As you get into it, you determine what that is, but that's kind of an unknown that's hanging out there right now. Another thing that does concern me, and I'm kind of glad that we're getting ahead of the curve, as there is an increased demand for fiber cable, I think we know if we remember supply and demand, there's a good chance that cost that cable could rise. As there's increased demand for installers, and I'm not just talking about the people who attach it to the pole, the people who run it from the pole to your home, install the modem. If there is a greater demand for installers, then their price will go up, which I'm happy for the installers. I'm happy for the people that supply the cable, and I think it's a good economic upturn, but it's hard to forecast exactly what the cost of that will be. Now, on this first run, we bought all the fiber in advance, so we had a fixed cost there, and we locked in some contracts on the installers. Looking out, there's a little bit of an unknown there.
Okay. All right, so these next two are the most popular questions we've had. Do you have to take internet service from North Central if you receive electric service from North Central?
Absolutely not. That is in the Act. If we even implied that, it would be against the law.
So yeah, that's it. You still have your options open, and
absolutely.
And one of the things we talk about economy here is if we get into this, it creates competition, and so that's beneficial to the member that's in our service area. So you while you're paying for electric service from North Central, you do not have to receive internet service from North Central.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate goal in all this is to, no matter who does it, to bring connectivity to these rural areas. And it's our goal, it's our hope that they would want to take service from us because they trust North Central, they trust the brand and the loyalty that they've had to us, and hopefully we'll provide a greater level of service. So
yeah, but at the same time, we are going to be open and honest with
Absolutely.
all of our members. That's a cooperative principle that we share that information and we keep our members educated, and that we want to, that was one of the big oppositions that we saw when we were watching the feeds was these people say you got to report your members. Well, we do that, and we're going to continue to report to members. Now, if we get into this broadband, we will report more. So.
Absolutely.
There will be increased transparency, and a lot of things that were asked in the amendments that were put in that act are things that we already do, but we still need to revisit them and make sure that we're doing them timely, seeing if we're providing information that the member wants without him having to ask for it, actually.
Okay. All right, another popular question, is this going to affect the cost of my utility bill?
No.
My electric bill?
No. TVA is our regulator. We'll look very closely at the use of funds, so that way you got a third set of eyes on it, but we're going to do that as well.
And that was in the bill as well, that
we could not subsidize the entity. That's correct.
yeah, we we cannot take money from the utility for the internet, but me and Michael were talking about this earlier. We can utilize some of the money from internet to improve the utility service, correct?
Yes, we could do that. Whether we do that or not, I don't know. But there are areas where the internet side of the business has been so successful, and it operates as a not-for-profit, and its sole owner is the electric cooperative, that it did pay capital back to the cooperative. Like I said, my hope would be that we just continue to put it back into capital and assets, and fiber and poles, and continue to run fiber. But there is a possibility that if it were a very successful venture, it could eventually go back to the electric cooperative. Not a goal, but it is an avenue.
All right. So can a member's electric service be disconnected if they don't pay their internet bill?
No.
Can the internet service be disconnected if I don't pay the electric bill?
No. Two completely separate entities. Now, we will toy with the idea of billing people on the same statement for convenience sake, but the money will go in two completely different directions.
Yeah, and that's and some people on fixed incomes, they would have that kind of question. Sometimes you can't pay the internet bill, but you have to have electricity. So we're not going to discontinue services for both if you don't pay both.
That is correct.
It's just if there's disconnection if you didn't pay that specific bill. Okay.
Absolutely.
Can internet services and electric services be bundled onto the same bill? You kind of just addressed that. So
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, okay. Will TV and phone services be offered?
We don't know. Our initial look would be to get the infrastructure to the home, provide internet service. We've got some consumers and members that are concerned that if they were to take our internet product, unbundle their other product, that they may not be able to afford the TV. There are cooperatives that have done it both different ways. This will come out of our study, how we best do that. And there's opportunity to where we may not provide it, but we broker a deal with Sling TV or something like that. I think they did that outside of Jonesboro, Arkansas. So there's the potential, but coming out of the gate, we're just trying to get the infrastructure up and getting the entity going. But there is that possibility.
Okay. And you've kind of addressed this question as well, but it's listed on here. Will the telecommunications affiliate be a for-profit company?
No. And unless there is some tax advantage. In Arkansas, there was a tax advantage to them establish a cooperative that was taxable. And it's based solely on Arkansas law. If you look at our laws, we don't see where that was a necessarily good idea. But the intent will be to run it as a not-for-profit, because if the electric co-op is the only owner of the telecom affiliate, then we're the only people that could take advantage of any profits coming from it. And like I said, I hope the intent will be to take any excess revenue over expenses, put it right back into the system.
Okay, that answers the next question. So, will new jobs be created across the state or for Northcentral?
There'll be a small amount of new jobs created for the telecom affiliate. Some of them could be temporary. I'm old enough to remember when the cable system came to Olive Branch, and a lot of contractors came in and guide poles, put extra guys on them, strung the cable, did the install work. At a certain time, you didn't need quite as many. But there will be a certain number of employees that'll work for the affiliate. Not a tremendous amount, but a certain number of employees. I think the biggest job creation you will see, if this takes off across the state, will be the companies that install the fiber and network engineers, things such as that. People that may not work directly for the telecom affiliate or the electric cooperative, but contractors that do the install work. I have heard numbers in northern Arkansas as many as 300 people being on a job to try to build out the fiber and install the service. That's a frightening number for me, as we've rarely had to manage more than 120, 130 people at a time here. But yeah, there will be jobs created. I think this is a great opportunity for workforce development centers, whether it's through the community college system, to look at this, because running fiber isn't the same as running a high voltage electric line. It's a different skill set, but you're still on a pole. You're still making install of fiber a very pricey asset. If I'm a young person right now, I have an interest in doing that.
Will North Central need a new facility to house the telecommunications affiliate?
From the outset, no. There really won't be the need for that. We've got enough excess space in this office to accommodate the affiliate. And just so people know, and I keep talking about a separate entity, when we establish an affiliate, and if they're working out of the North Central office, they're going to have to pay us rent. We can't subsidize it with a free room or a free suite of offices. So I really think that we can start off in this office and probably operate out of this office for quite some time.
Okay. Do I need to contact North Central's board of directors and management to voice my support?
At the moment, you really don't. We've heard overwhelming support from our membership, so we've got the bill in place. We are moving forward with the business. We really don't have any pushback on not doing it. Where we may need rural member support might be if we get ready to apply for grants, and we'll reach out to these areas once we define them. But we might need letters from certain groups of our membership saying they would love to have high speed, not committing to us, but just saying, yeah, I don't have this type of service at my home. I'd like to have it. We could use that in a grant application.
Okay. How will we communicate the progress of this project?
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. This is
right
one
now.
avenue. Yeah.
I really do want to emphasize the email address that you give out so we can get questions like this. Exactly how we're going to do it, I don't know. I'll probably throw that back on y'all a little bit. It would not surprise me if we don't wind up with a Facebook page or a Twitter account that just says North Central Broadband. I don't want to say now, soon. And you can put comments on there because, like you said, we do read the comments. Potentially a paper flyer that answers some very common questions that we could have read at our office. And I don't know, it may, through Today in Mississippi, our monthly publication, we can do that as well. When we've got a pretty good idea what our deployment's going to look like, we'll build it out in phases. We can put some of that information on our website as well, or the affiliate's website. I have to comment, though, and say we can't get into incredible details on that. This is a competitive industry. I'm not completely familiar with the application process. That's why we're working with some consultants. But you don't want to disclose an in-depth business plan to your competition. Competition can come in and without even serving the area, put forth a notice of intent to do it, which can kind of lock it up for several years. So we want to avoid that. We want to be transparent. I want our members to know what this will cost, how we plan to pay for it, remind them that it's not going to affect their electric rates, give them some idea as to when we can deploy it to their homes. And any website we do this on will need to be interactive to a certain amount. And we got people saying, I'll sign up for internet service this location. If we get enough people, then the phases may change a little bit as we try to provide service to those who want the most. The goal is, though, to be as transparent as possible, answer as many questions as possible, continue with the podcast, continue with information in Today, literature here, and probably doing maybe not a mailer, but putting constant information in our Today paper, which I hope our membership gets. If for some reason they don't, they may want to call the office and inquire and see if they've been left off the mailing list for some reason.
Yeah, and that's so. The entire communications department's in this room, so this is how you can find out about it. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're NorthCentralEPA.com. We've got this podcast. Click subscribe. We're on iTunes, Podbean. Working on getting that out to more channels.
If you're having a problem with your internet, you can read it in the Today paper, and hopefully we can get service to you so you can take advantage of those other avenues.
Yeah, and we'll look at adding a page on North Central's website, just kind of a frequently asked questions. And, from this point forward, I'm going to say that we'll dedicate a segment of this podcast to a broadband update, to an update on the project. So, and y'all can continue, the questions are great, so continue to bring those in at podcast@northcentralepa.com, and we'll address those in each episode. And, of course, the good old-fashioned way is just to call us. But we'll try and provide updates as frequently as possible through those avenues.
Yep, that's 1-800-895-3925. I believe I got that right.
Yeah.
There's a couple numbers. But, so give us a call. Ask us any questions. If you do call up our offices and you want to talk to Communications Department, ask for Justin Jaggers or Michael Bellapani. We'll be glad to try and get you the answers that you're looking for and get you that information and offer it to other people that might not have thought to ask that question yet. So we're very excited. This is January has been a good month for us so far. We're going to be able to continue looking into this and planning, and it's going to take a few months, but we're one step closer to offering higher speed internet to our members, and that's huge.
We got the first thing we wanted, permission. Now, we got that from the state legislature. Now we look at our membership and say, patience.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys. If you have any questions or any suggestions you'd like to make this podcast, it's podcast@northcentralepa.com. Email us. We will address it. So we want to thank everybody that's asked questions and giving us support. We wanted to kind of specifically mention supporters of this bill: Senators David Parker, Chris Massey, Kevin Blackwell, Neil Whaley, Representatives Bill Kincaid, John Faulkner, Robert Foster, Dan Eubanks, Steve Hopkins, Jeff Hale, and Steve Massendale.
Very
Those are the
appreciative.
guys in our service area. Thank them a whole bunch. They have a lot of questions. They got a lot of questions from their constituents, but also everybody else throughout the state. Thank you for all the work you've done.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else we got?
I'm good.
All right.
We got to get to work on a broadband.
Yeah, we got to start doing some research. All right. North Central Infused. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to click subscribe.